The concept of the fifth dimension, celestial music, the music of the spheres, Schumann resonance, and the Polyphon. There is a type of music that is heard by people in their heads, but not by anyone else near them. Sometimes it is clearly terrestrial in origin, as it may even be a pop tune. If they have heard the particular band and pop tune before, we may simply be retrieving a past perception. If they have never heard the music before, but it still sounds very earthy, then they might be receiving the music via telepathy, hearing the music someone else is enjoying, or not, with whom close ties have been made, the invisible but strong links made between people mentioned in our video on quantum entanglement and destiny. But there is a type of unearthly beautiful music that people sometimes hear, and only they hear, that is so glorious they can spend their whole lives trying to reproduce it, and it is called celestial music. Celestial music is described as truly unearthly, sweet, gentle, lucid and harmonic, calming, bringing joy and happiness, even ecstasy. And it is unlike anything we might have heard before. What else? Well, one key thing is that it does not use our current pitch, musical scales, or harmonies, even though it is harmonic sounding. Some people who have heard this music. Sir Edwin Arnold, 10th of June 1832 to the 24th of March 1904, was an English poet and journalist who is most known for his work The Light of Asia, and he heard it once. That rich celestial music thrilled the air from hosts on hosts, shining ones who thronged eastward and westward, making bright the night. The Shakers, the Quakers, the Sufis, the Kabbalistic Jews all heard celestial music. The Shakers, for example, had a tradition of receiving songs via trance, which were then recorded using their own musical notation system, which we have now sadly lost. Rumi. Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi was a 13th century Persian poet and Sufi mystic, and he said, "Bring the sky beneath your feet and listen to celestic music everywhere." Native Australian Aborigines, whose songlines are an attempt to remember this music. And last but not least, Pete Townshend of the pop group The Who. The Daily Express, Thursday, May the 2nd, 2013, by Mike Ridley. For most of his life, rock legend Pete Townshend has been haunted by the music of an angelic orchestra and choir. The Who's lead guitarist has tried without success to recreate the heavenly sounds he first heard in his head as an 11-year-old on a River Thames boat ride. Townshend tells of hearing the music while on a boat with his Sea Scout troupe. "I heard violins, cellos, horns, harps and voices, which increased in number until I could hear the threads of an angelic choir. It was a sublime experience. I have never heard such music since. and my personal music ambition has always been to rediscover that sound and relive its effect on me. The types of musical instruments heard. Clearly, any sound heard cannot be heard by anyone else, but many, just like Pete Townshend, have tried to describe it by using the sounds musical instruments make. Indeed, there is some evidence that early musical instruments were made in an attempt to reproduce celestial sounds. Examples include reed instruments, flutes, pipes, particularly bagpipes or panpipes, string instruments, especially lutes, harps, including Aeolian harps, cellos and violins or fiddles. Bells. Another instrument which is also frequently heard is bells, which is probably why Morris men wear bells when they are dancing, lest we forget. Trumpets, bugles, horns, and other brass instruments. Voices. Usually descant voices. No words, just melody, where the voice is being used like an instrument, and maybe why the Christian church has choir boys to sing its hymns. So where does this music come from? Ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross, to see an old lady upon a white horse, rings on her fingers and bells on her toes. She shall have music wherever she goes. The music of the spheres. Using an Earth-centric model to demonstrate, the Earth resonates with a natural frequency pulsation of 7.83 Hz on average. And there are those who can hear this, and they call it the hum. Wikipedia. The hum is a name often given to widespread reports of a persistent and invasive low-frequency humming, rumbling, or droning noise not audible to all people. In essence, Earth resonates, and to some this is heard as a sound. And so it appears to the planets and their moons. For example, Venus. Theoretical calculations were made by Nikolayenko and Rabinovich in 1982, and Bechoni and Price in 2004. Both studies yielded very close results, and resonance of Venus was detected by the Venera 11 and 12 landers, but has not yet been measured. Mars. Martian global resonances were modelled by Sukharukov in 1991, Pechoni and Price in 2004, and Molina, Kubras et al. In 2006. Again, resonance has been detected, but not yet measured. The rhythms of Jupiter's major moons are heard as a drum beat. Callista and Ganymede are nearly in a 12.5 resonance. Titan. Since the landing of the Huygens probe on Titan's surface in January 2005, there have been reports of its resonance, and it seems that every planet and object in space has a natural frequency, from planets to stars, meteorites to dwarf planets, asteroids to black holes. And since big objects have a natural resonant frequency, then hypothetically small objects have a frequency. And indeed there is a concept called the natural frequency or eigenfrequency, defined as the frequency at which a system tends to oscillate in the absence of any driving or damping force. In other words, every aggregate has a natural resonant frequency. See our video on aggregates. And it is why monks hum and chant Om to find their natural frequency, and why our ancestors built henges of stone with certain natural frequencies. They were tuning in to the universe. In essence, the fifth dimension is created by the resonant frequencies of aggregates, which can be heard by some people as celestial music, sound. And thus we have the explanation for the expression music of the spheres, and an ever-changing sky will produce a vast number of songs. And it is why there are 7 notes in the musical scale, for the 7 then known planets, which once matched in pitch the actual heard sound mystics could detect, as above, so below. Schumann resonance. There is a separate phenomenon that can be measured called Schumann resonance, named after physicist Dr. Winfried Otto Schumann, who predicted it mathematically in 1952. There is the continuing belief that it is related to lightning strikes, but it varies depending on whether it is night or day, rather indicating that the night sky might be a better place to look as one source of influence. Schumann resonance was found on Titan. However, after several tens of flybys by Cassini, neither lightning nor thunderstorms were detected in Titan's atmosphere. But there is far more evidence that Schumann resonance is caused by the ever-changing night sky. If every object in the universe has resonance, we are being bombarded by the resonant sounds coming from everything in the sky. And the type of energy being received may not be electromagnetic at all, but at the quantum level, the level of quantum entanglement. See the Destiny and Quantum Entanglement video, which means distance no longer matters. All these objects in the sky will appear to be near us. As long as we view them and thus become entangled, they will influence us. And as one small body stands on one spot on Earth, looking up at the night sky, the heavens turning above him, every single object he sees will be influencing him, every single one. And at the very moment they align with his higher spirit, his own celestial pole, he will hear them resonating, and it will be heard as celestial music. An example experience. Bayard Taylor, January the 11th, 1825 to December the 19th, 1878, was an American poet, literary critic, translator, travel author, and diplomat. One night, at about 1 o'clock in the morning, in the mountainous region of Nevada, I was still contemplating the eternal beauty of the night, when I suddenly became aware of a distinctive sound, which seemed that of the wind in the forest. I looked at the trees. They were still. However, this sound increased rapidly, to such an extent that the air in this solitary valley seemed to vibrate powerfully. A strange feeling of waiting, almost fearful, had invaded me. Not a leaf was shaking in the wood, when suddenly this formidable whispering turned into a choral song, a grand hymn sung by thousands of voices, which spread very quickly from one hill to another, getting lost in the distance, in the plain, like the echo of thunder.